This is a big truck. In fact, I went back and looked, and in almost every dimension, this truck is identical in size to the 1992 F-150. The 1992 F-150 used the 302 5-liter V8 as its meat and potatoes engine, put out 180 horsepower, and got 13 miles to the gallon. This truck is the exact same size. It's got almost 100 horsepower more and gets 50% better gas mileage. Now, when you look at this compared to the 23 Tacoma, this truck is 2 inches higher in front. It's 1 inch higher in back. Top of the roof line is 4 inches higher. Anybody have a calculator? Pull a calculator out. Somebody get a calculator out. Okay, take 10 times 10 times 10. What do you got?
1,000.
Okay, now take 11 times 11 times 11.
1,331.
Okay, so what we just did was we increased the dimensions by 10%. We increased the volume by almost 30%. So there's not a direct relationship between increasing dimension and the extra volume you get. This truck is much bigger than the old Tacoma. It's 4 inches longer than the old Tacoma. The wheelbase is an inch longer than the old Tacoma, and it's 2 inches wider than the old Tacoma. Bed is 2 inches deeper. Okay, now some of the things that your customers are going to ask you about. Everybody pretty much knows what happened with the Tundra when we launched it, and we had the problems with the wastegate valve. The Tundra uses an electronic wastegate valve. The Tacoma is using a mechanical wastegate valve. We're not going to have the wastegate valve problems on the Tacoma that we had on the Tundra. Okay. Now, the turbo unit is actually mounted in the very back of the engine, pretty much against the firewall. The general consensus over in service is that if that turbo gets to about 200,000 miles, it's going to be a really old man. But Toyota opted to use a conventional, commercially available turbo setup in this. So that'll help to lower the cost, and those parts should be readily available. There's a nasty little note buried in the owner's manual, somewhere around page 352, that says, when you put this vehicle under a heavy load, if you're climbing up a hill, or if you're driving in excess of 70 miles an hour for an extended period of time, you have to let this thing idle for 1 minute before you shut the engine off. Because if you don't, you're going to damage the turbo. So we need to make sure our customers know that. And I haven't looked, but I'm willing to bet that that exact same note is in the Tundra book. And I haven't been telling Tundra people that because I didn't know about it. I just found out about it. So we need to make sure people know about that so they take care of these the right way so they last. Okay. Now, strategically, where we've been with the Tacoma, we have never been the best at anything other than reliability and resale value. Everybody else who makes a truck does something better than we do, but nobody does everything as well as we do. Okay, so we're not the best at necessarily at anything, but we're better than everybody else at everything, and that's still true on this truck. This is the only hybrid we have where the hybrid is actually rated to tow less than the gas engine. So the gas engines will tow 64, 65. The hybrids are only going to tow 6. Even the Nissan Frontier tows 66. But the Nissan Frontier is going to lose half its value in the first 3 years. That's not going to happen with this. On the passenger side, you'll see a giant piece of metal that doesn't look like it belongs there. Toyota made the decision to move the catalytic converter up into the engine compartment. So it's no longer under the vehicle. This right here is actually the catalytic converter. So makes it much harder to steal. So the effective range on the blind spot monitors is from the outside mirror to 11 feet behind the vehicle. Now, when you're towing a trailer, that doesn't work. Okay, so there's several options the customers have with a trailer. One is you can go on there on the MID screen and you can program your trailer. So you tell the vehicle how long your trailer is, how many axles it has, what kind of brakes it has, and what kind of attachment mechanism it has, if it's a ball or whatever it is. And then it'll automatically adjust the blind spot monitors 50 feet back. So it'll go from 11 feet to 50 feet. Now, you can either do that on the MID screen, or if you plug into the 7-pin connector, it'll do it automatically. If you plug into the 4-pin connector, it will not. And you have to do that manually, and the way you can do that is by pulling your trailer and making 2 turns that are 90 degrees or more, and that calibrates the system. And there's a setup screen in there. We'll have to show our customers how to use it because they will have to calibrate it the first time they do it. So that also applies to the trailer assist mechanism, which kind of, gives you guidelines for how to turn the wheel when you're backing the trailer up. So, but you have to tell it what you have back there or it doesn't know. Those numbers right there, they look like part numbers. Those numbers are actually the GPS coordinates to the summit of Mount Rainier. Do you know what the Native American name for Mount Rainier was? Or is? TACOMA. Yeah, GPS coordinates for the summit of Mount Rainier. Cascade Mountains with Mount Rainier right in the center. Have you seen this?
Not yet.
Okay, it's just a storage compartment. This is Morse code. And what it says is accessory ready. So there's 3 blanks on here, and it's an option package, but there's 3 blanks on here, and this can come pre-wired with 3 accessory plugs. So 1 plug is located in the engine compartment, 1 plug is in the passenger compartment, and the 3rd plug is in the bed, and they'll all be wired directly to switches on the dash. So you don't have to do any aftermarket wiring to hook those accessories up.
You said yesterday about RPM reaching its peak RPM.
Yes, that's interesting. The old Tacoma reached maximum torque at 4,600 RPM. I'm not sure you could even drive a Tacoma at 4,600 RPM without it coming apart. This reaches max torque at 1,700 RPM. When you're driving it gently, you don't feel the turbo at all. When you goose the pedal, there's just a very momentary turbo lag, but it kicks in right away and it just shoots out of the hole. And it's going to be a beast in hybrid. But that's going to make this truck feel a lot peppier. One of the questions your customers are going to give you is, why do these things cost so much? We all know the prices have gone up. We saw what happened with the Tundra, and they're more expensive, and they are. But one of the things you need to make sure your customers understand is that almost half the cost of every vehicle we sell out there is tied up in 2 things: the powertrain and the safety systems. The powertrain and the safety systems represent almost half the cost of every vehicle we sell. If you strip these things down part by part and look at where the money is, half the money is in the powertrain and the safety system. So you can explain to people, in your 1992 Ford F-150, same size, underpowered, terrible gas mileage, you run into a tree at 50 miles an hour, your parents are going to be probably crying. You run into a tree at 50 miles an hour in this rig, you're likely going to live to tell the tale. So yes, it costs more. Here's what you get. The truck will save your life.